Tonight we're speaking with the band Neverwonder, and you guys are based out of Los Angeles, California. Before we get started with the interview, why don't we go around and have you guys introduce yourselves?
What? I'm Dina. I'm the singer.
Okay, and
ready to go?
yeah, I'm ready to go. I was just gonna say, why don't we have you guys introduce yourselves? Alma already introduced herself.
Okay. Yeah. No problem. Round the horn, guys. That's not a problem.
Okay.
All right. I'm Drains, drums and percussion. I'm Vincent.
Okay, now.
Bass player.
Okay, now, Vince, I understand that you and Andreas are brothers. So, are you guys the two that started the band?
Yeah. I mean, this band comes from another old band that we were part of, and then we built this one, and then we added some members and to release a couple albums and stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay, and I was curious. If you and Andreas, you guys played in bands all your life together. What's that been like?
Dre? Well, it's been really good. I mean, yeah, the brother aspect is definitely keeps it solid. We kind of know what each other's thinking a lot of the time. There's no old aces thing going on here or nothing like that where we fight each other.
Yeah.
Ready to throw balls, nothing like that. So, and it's a good relationship. It's creative. It's fun. Of course we have our opinions about things, but we always work everything out. So it's all good.
And I was interested when you guys formed the band. Did you always have the intent of having a female lead singer? Is that something that do you guys just discover Alma and think she was a perfect fit for the band?
Well, we always be. Well, that's a good question. Really, no one's ever asked that one. That's a good one. Previous to the band that we were in, we worked with a female vocalist, and we did well. It worked out well, the chemistry and everything. People say yin and yang and this and that about working with a female vocalist, but the female vocalist that we worked out with, and especially Alima, their hearts have been in the right place. Their minds have been solid in producing music and knowing exactly what they wanted to do, and there's been no difference. I mean, we've had male vocalists in the past, but it's been great. And who is working on groceries?
That's great because I think working with a female singer gives you guys kind of an extra edge, a little something special that a lot of other bands don't have. And I'd like to ask you, Alma, how did you feel about working with these guys when you first hooked up with them?
I didn't catch that. What was that?
Well, I was curious, when you first hooked up with these guys, was there instant chemistry? What was it like for you? What made you really want to join this band when you first hooked up with the guys?
At the time, I definitely was working to collaborate more in the situation. I think I was lucky to have people that instantly kind of had chemistry. We all had kind of the same vibe in which our work ethic was the same. So it's really important to have the talent and also have the chemistry to work or work ethic because, it is a business at the end of the day. But also, we all have to get along in some ways because we work together and it's creative. So, it was definitely refreshing to find out that there's actually three people that I can get along with and collaborate and make music with. So that was really interesting.
And let me ask you, I know you're originally from San Francisco, so coming from the Bay Area, what was that like moving down here to LA? Was it very different?
Well, yeah, I was born and raised in San Francisco, then I moved to New York, and then I came out here. And I think that getting all those different cities under my belt, that was definitely, at this point in my life, I think in my career, it's a nice change. So I get the music, and I get the outdoors, and, it's kind of, to get the inspiration and that balance, it was kind of a good place to be, so.
Yeah,
it's been cool.
Yeah, and listening to your guys' music, and you guys even kind of describe this on your Facebook page. I hear a little bit of, there's everything from like modern rock, alternative rock to even a little bit of soul. I was curious. Do you feel that that's just everybody's influence coming into the band, or is that just kind of the style of music you guys write?
I think it's the influence of everybody in the band. I mean, Alima's very soulful, very she has a lot of R&B background. We love funk, we love rock. I mean, we grew up listening to pretty heavy stuff, but I think when you work with a vocalist like I think that looks like we got somebody. We lost somebody.
Oh, okay.
Are you there, Lima?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, I think we lost Vincent. Hold on.
Okay.
Sorry.
No problem.
Yeah, I think we lost it. Okay, let me just finish that and I'll answer. I'll get him back on the line.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, when you have a vocalist like Lima, you want to write songs around a vocalist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't want to write a bunch of songs that the vocalist isn't comfortable with, or doesn't sound that great in, or is just okay. They're just kind of singing it.
Yeah.
I think that comes across when you write songs. So yeah, it's definitely. There's a lot of influences there, but we are definitely trying to write a certain style, have a certain genre. But Neverwonder, we write a lot of different things. From rock to soul to funk to whatever, just pop. It's really not a bad idea. We just like to do everything as long as it feels good and the singer sounds good and it's fun to play and we're having a good time. I think that's really what we're all about.
Yeah, because I got to tell you guys, in listening to the music, that's one thing I kind of enjoyed is, there's a little bit of something on there for everybody, if you know what I mean, and like you're not full blown on metal, you're kind of, like I said, there's a little bit of alternative, a little pop sound, and so there's something on there for everybody,
Let me get Vincent back on the line. Sorry.
No, not a problem.
Okay, hold on.
Okay. And again, my name is Jason J. Rock Houston, and we're speaking with the band Neverwonder. And we lost Vince, the bass player, but we're going to be getting him back on the line shortly. So, and this interview is going to be appearing on chaoticriffs.com in a couple of weeks. So,
Okay, are you there?
yeah, we're here.
Sorry. Right here? Sorry. Yeah, I'm back. Sorry.
Okay.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah, we lost you there for a little bit, Vince. We're kind of talking with your brother and Alma about the fact that when I listen to
You're talking to Lima, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Lima. Excuse me for that.
Yeah. Not a problem.
Sorry about that.
Not a problem.
But we're talking.
I don't want our family to get crazy on you. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you. Thanks for that, by the way. But yeah, we're talking about Vince with other band members about the fact that when I listen to your music, there's a little something in there for everybody. You got a little bit of a pop element, a little bit of soul, a little bit of alternative, and I was asking them, is that just kind of everybody's influence coming into the band?
Who's on? Am I on? Who's on? Yeah, I kind of answered it, but if you want to go, Vince, all right, Lima. Nah, the rules of Neverwonder are there are no rules, and you bring your outside life, you bring your outside enjoyment, your music love. You bring it in the band, we mix it up, and that becomes Neverwonder. So, I mean, there are some parameters. We don't want to be a death metal band.
Of course,
or anything, but, or a polka band, but, it's all good. Whatever happens, man. We try to keep it with hooks and involved in the music, and that's that.
And do you think that's kind of what your fans like about the music? The fact that, you really can't be pigeonholed, but, you just write great music is, I think that's what I hear when I listen to this stuff, but you guys, your music.
I think we definitely want to hear something to everyone, it's release the songs by what is life experiences, melody, different types of feels, maybe it's a slow one, a rock song or reggae or soul, and that's really what we try to do, I think, collaboratively, since we all have different backgrounds, when we mesh together, we all want something that we all dig. So it's like it's across the board something that we all agree upon. So it's kind of cool that we try to make it so that everyone will like it. Someone's gonna like it.
Yeah, and
We like it.
yeah, and that is what matters really. I think. I mean, because again, if you put out product and you're just you're just writing stuff maybe to just get a hit or just or whatever, and your heart's really not into it. People are gonna hear that when they put the record on. But and I think if you guys like it first, then and it comes from a heart. But the fans, when they listen to it, they're gonna dig it just as much as you. And so I think that's another.
The way I like to approach it, to be honest with you, is like when I listen to a band, when I buy an album, or I'm into a band, I like when they have variety. You know what I mean? I don't want like just all of one thing. Just like a reggae band, it's all reggae. The whole album's reggae. You know what I mean? If it's rock, rock. I want to have the variety. I think variety is spice of life. And I think it's definitely necessary for a band like us coming up. Have that variety. I think you can capture more crowd. I think the big record labels will tell you, you gotta only play in one direction or keep it kind of in the same genre. I think day and age you have to have some variety.
And let me ask you guys, as far as your music, do you guys release it yourself? Are you on an indie label, or who are you signed with?
Well, in that respect, we are an independent band. We finance our own album, and we put it out. And in this day and age, DIY, you can do a lot of your things yourself. So we don't want to be trapped into a situation where we have no control of anything. But that being said, the record companies, I don't want to say, well, the record companies wouldn't help us out.
Yeah.
I mean, they have a agent that would really expedite things. But until that day, we have business leaders in place. Alima's has a great business mind. Dre does too. Myself. We work as a band that we love music, but we understand it's a business. So for us, we did finance the album, and we put it on iTunes and Rhapsody and across the world on like 30 downloadable sites, along with brick and mortar stores, and everything that needs to happen is happening. But if the day comes where an album, a record company wants to come, we do own the masters. We own all the work. We have a publishing company. We can put our music into wherever it needs to be. So we're a full-fledged business. We still need to climb the ladder, and we're not opposed to help. But at the point, we are doing it ourselves at this time.
Yeah, you make a very good point, because talking about that, because I tell you, I personally myself think a lot of our record companies ruin it for themselves, and the cool thing about what you're talking about is the power is back in your guys' hand. I mean, like you said, you don't have a guy in a suit telling you, no, go back into the studio. I don't hear anything commercial. I don't hear a single. And I think the fact that you guys have so much control over your music, that puts the power in your hand. And I think that's really the great thing about the music industry. I mean, there was once a time when, when you needed to be signed to a label to get your music out there, or nobody would hear it. And that's just the power of the internet. I think that's a great thing,
Well, like shows like yours are spreading the word for bands like us, and I think I mean the bands we search out independent artists from across the world, and I'm sure fans search out us from LA, and we've been played in New Zealand, New York, to Europe, to England, to South America. Our tracks, which would not have happened 20 years ago. There was no way to make that happen. So the internet has shrunk the world, but it has made it hard. Because there's so many, it's a lot of competition. But, we really work hard on crafting our music, our image, our websites, all that stuff. But there is competition out there, and we're excited about it. It's okay.
Yeah, and it's the kind of thing where, the cream kind of rises to the top, as you say. But the great thing is that you guys finance this, you put all your own money in it, and so if your album sells well and the songs are doing good, there's money to be made, and all the money goes back into your guys' hands instead of some record company, and that's cool. So I really have a lot of respect for bands like you guys that you do it all on your own, and you could really you could really feel the work ethic that you guys have going on here.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and I want to talk a little bit. I was looking on your website that you guys have been. I guess the last show is September 5th, I think. But you guys have been doing a summer residency somewhere down here in LA. Is that correct?
Yeah, we have pretty much just in Costa Mesa. There's this restaurant called Auntie, part of the Crustaceans family. It's a pretty nice venue. We've been doing it like once or twice a month for a few months now, all the way through November. So it's a good way to kind of get our music out and do other music as well, but have a permanent or at least a city gig throughout the month to the end of the year.
Nice. I mean, that must be a cool thing. That must be a cool thing where you kind of have a steady gig, like you said, and you're not constantly touring. But I understand you guys do 2 sets, so does that ever get hard? Doing 2 separate shows, in one night.
I'm sorry. You said does it get hard to do 2 separate sets?
Yeah, I mean, like I was reading you guys, at this residency, you've been doing like 2 separate sets a night. Does that ever, does that ever get really tiring, or is it something you enjoy?
No, I mean, I think, you know what, rehearsing is harder than the shows.
Uh-huh.
Because that's where you really, you got to hammer up the songs, figure out everything. We have a day job, and then we got to go there at night, and then rehearse stuff and work late and get up early. But, that's the fun part. The fun part, that's the easy part, is going to the show, doing the show, playing the jams, playing the songs.
Mm-hmm.
See that what do they say? What is the cliche? The fruits of labor? Or,
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. So, it's nice to see people get happy when you hammer out the song that, and it's a really cool song, and people enjoy it, and, that for me, the show is the easy part, to be honest with you.
Okay.
It is a little tough, but it is the fun part about the whole thing. It's what we do. It's why we do it, right?
Yeah.
Go to rehearsal, do the promotions and all that type of stuff.
And so when the residency ends, I was curious, are you guys going to start looking to book other shows, or is it just a matter of people coming to you and asking you to play certain gigs?
Well, we hope the residency doesn't end, but if it does, that's okay. I mean, this has been a phenomenal gig at Enki, and then it spurred off to other shows.
Uh-huh.
We also do a thing called the Rock and Roll Marathon around the tri-states here in California,
Okay.
Arizona, Nevada. We travel up north in California. So we do a lot of these things, which we collect thousands of So we play big crowds, and there's those, and then all the local shows that we do that have a house of Viper rooms here in Los
Okay.
We have a house.
Okay.
So
Yeah. And I.
big venues, small venues, so growing.
Okay, and I of course got to ask you about your band name. It's kind of a simple name, but it's kind of catchy. I was wondering how you guys came up with that.
Who's going to do this one?
Well, you seem to speak to that pretty eloquently, so why don't you just...
Yeah. I'm sorry. But sorry, you guys are in and out on my phone, so. Okay, well let me kind of here's the thing in a nutshell. Her name and I know you do about having your name at the .com. You don't want to be .us.
Oh, okay.
So you were looking for the name like 5-6 years ago. Dre was instrumental in trying to find these. And while we were doing that, we were finding members and at the same time. And in life there's relationships, there's fan failures, there's work failures, there's girlfriend, boyfriend failures, there's all kinds of things that just don't go the way you would hope they go, You don't win $1 million today or whatever the thing is.
Yeah.
In life, you never wonder about what could happen. You only focus on the future with what can happen, and you never wonder about the past. So to add, or what, guitar player or bass player or guy or girl. And that's a mantra for life for us. And, moving forward, that's kind of what we're all about.
Well,
I wonder.
Yeah.
You just worry about what you can do. So that's what it's all about.
Well, I really dig that. That's totally cool. And now let me ask you guys, like when you record, are you all in the same room together, or do you kind of do it the modern way where everybody lays down?
Go ahead, Alima. Go ahead. You talk about this one.
Where do we what? Like, I'm sorry.
Like when you record, are you guys all in the same room, or does everybody record their part?
Oh, yeah.
The hotel? Is that what you just said? Well, no.
Did you say hotel room?
No. Wait, when you.
Which one did you say?
No, when you are all like recording, when you go in to record music, are you guys all in the same like in a recording studio, or?
Yeah, so did I.
No.
We were touring, but how are we when we were in hotel room? Okay, stick to the music. So no,
Yeah.
for the music, recording, we all do it separately.
Okay. And
I mean, we're all different in the creative process, but we
yeah.
haven't done it together where we're doing live together and that type of thing.
Right.
We usually do like tracking separately, obviously.
Yeah, especially with Alima, but when we track the drums, like what we'll do is we'll do a scratch track where we all play live together, but we are in different rooms. But then we have to kind of start putting it together like a puzzle, one piece at a time. And build it up. And then the backing vocals and the guitars and the front drums. So we want to have five.
So what's that like when you guys like when you went into the studio and you got the album all put together and you're hearing it back, playback for the very first time? I mean, does it ever come out sounding like drastically different than what you thought it was going to, or what's that like very first playback when you got done with doing the album?
Wow, that's a pretty good question. That's a pretty good question. Yeah. This is right. It's pretty. I mean, it's pretty amazing once you've got your finished product.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of you. Sometimes it's like you listen to it a million times. You know what I mean? It's like you listen to it, you take it out to the car, you take it home, and you listen at home, or you put it on a boom box, or you're listening to the control room. You can listen to you may listen one song one night. You might listen to that song 25 times.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like later, like down the line a little bit, like because that night you just get burnt out on listening to it, and you're not sure. Wow, should the high end come up? Should the bass drum come down? Is the bass too loud? Are the backups too loud? Are they not loud enough? That type of stuff. And I think that night, once you come out of there, it's a little kind of overwhelming. But I think when you look back, when you come across it in about a week or two, even a month down the line, you're listening with some buddies without the like, oh my God, I just overthinking it.
Yeah.
That's when it's amazing for me.
Okay.
It's amazing for me. Once down the line, once it's said and done, and it just sounds perfect, and people are just amazed by it. That's when it really.
Okay. Now I like to go around and ask each of you, like, I guess we could start with you, Vince.
Okay.
How did you pick, your instrument? Like, for example, how did you decide you wanted to play the bass guitar?
Wow, that's a good one. I like that question because bass is the number one instrument in the world.
Yeah.
They just don't know it yet. Okay? so I just make sure they know when it's recorded here, and I said it.
Okay.
Really, it kind of called to me. I mean, as we said, me and Dre have been playing in bands forever, and obviously could have been a drummer, or I could have tried to be a drummer or a guitar player. But there was something about the bass that I always liked. I mean, I don't know. It a little bit in. And necessity in our neighborhood, there was a guitar player. But always liked the guitar, and it's not because I don't guitar player. It's just So for me, that's how it worked out.
And let me ask you, because I think it's interesting that you have a bass player and your brother's Andreas is a drummer. So as a rhythm section, like, do you feel that you guys really lock in together?
Yeah, I mean, it is. I have played with other drummers, like I sat in with other people and stuff. There is a sense of just because we're brothers and because we played a long time together, but
yeah.
There is something that goes on that we kind of think alike, but there is things that we don't talk about but happen, and we don't, but it does happen, yeah. There is a extra lock layer because we're brothers, definitely.
And how are you, Andreas? I was curious, any reason particular that you chose to become a drummer?
I actually wanted to play guitar when I was a kid. And it kind of, it just, then I had a friend that was selling a drum set, and he decided to play guitar, and they kind of just went out like that. I started playing drums after that, but I was always influenced by drums. I mean, when I was a little boy, I used to do the old pots and pans and all that stuff in the garage, and before I even really knew, that I had the ability to play drums. So I really wanted to play guitar, and then it just kind of turned out. I got that drum set, and then I started playing from there, and then really, just so many amazing drummers when I was growing up, from, Neil Peart to John Bottom, and now, like Matt Cameron nowadays, and there's just so many amazing drummers, and that's pretty much it. I mean, just hearing the big sounding drums, and that, just knowing that I felt like I could do that, so that was pretty much my influence, and then and from there, man.
And I got to ask you, Andreas, as a drummer, is it true? I've often heard drummers say that it's a great way to, get your aggression out.
Well, maybe when I was a kid playing more, but now it's an art in itself. It's really hard to, your attitude really affects how you come across on those things. Like how you're feeling. If you're tired and you don't feel like it, that's what it feels like up there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because
you're not tired and you're happy and you're just ready to groove. That's how it feels up there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I think most people.
Like butter or like playing on pillows.
Yeah, because I think I'm not a musician myself, but I think most people would be interested to learn that everybody thinks typically a song starts with the guitar, which it may or may not. But I understand. Many musicians told me that everything basically starts with the drums. The drums is what keeps the beat of everything.
I would say, a lot of the times, if you have an influential drummer, and I play a little of everything, so I understand, all the other instruments too.
Oh, that's cool.
So it helps. For me, it helps me know when not to play, or I'm playing too much, or this is a vocal part. It's not about the drum. I think sometimes musicians and drummers maybe just they don't realize how the other instruments work, and I think it's very important for a drummer to know how everything else works. You know what I mean? Not just I'm the drummer, I'm going to play the beat, and you guys got to play around me. I think there's a lot more to it than just playing the beats. And I think you're right. It does kind of come from the drums, because that's the energy of a song, the energy of a product. And I think that's why hip hop and stuff is so. It's the drums are everything in hip hop.
Yeah.
And that's what that's a driving force in it. And I think that's why hip hop is so successful, because it's just the heartbeat of something,
And as far as you, Alima, I was curious if you always just been a singer, or was it a matter of just all the bands you were in? You were the ones that had the best voice.
Yeah, I mean, I do play the keys a bit, and I'm trying to pick up a little guitar too, but I gotta do one or the other.
Yeah.
But I mean, I definitely played the keys first doing classical, and then I played by ear. So usually when I start writing, I start doing it off of playing some chords on the piano. But I mean, it started off from like little parties when I was a kid, and then
Yeah.
You talk about stress for drummers, but like you can tell when I'm having a bad day, I'm like, oh, singing out loud.
Yeah. And
What's going on? I'm like,
yeah, of course, and of course, your job is a lot more than just singing because you're a front person of a band, and how much of that do you enjoy? Have like when you're on stage, having to communicate with the audience, and a lot of what you guys do, you need your band and stuff, but you're kind of a focal point. Since you're a singer, you're the one everybody's looking at. Does that
right.
What's that like for you?
I think that's probably the greatest part of being a performer or singer is that's the time that I get to connect with people and to see how the music actually is absorbed by everyone else. You can see in a room and we just play and we're like, oh, this is fantastic. But once I feel like one person or two people, a few people or more than that relate to the song, or I can see it in their eyes or like see them move around, that's like probably the best reward when you're an artist. People connect with what you're doing,
And
it is pretty cool.
And I guess since talking to you right now, we'll start with you, Alima. I was curious about if we go around the table, talk a little bit about who you were all influenced by as far as different musicians and bands that inspired you when you were growing up.
So, do you say what are my influences?
Yeah, like who influenced you to be get into music and that, or who are the bands you listen to?
My mom really liked the Roberta Flack, all the R&B, Whitney Houston, Stevie Wonder, and going to Alicia Keys, Lauryn Hill, and all those other artists.
Wow.
Jen Maxwell,
Yeah.
Sade, those are like really a lot of my influences. That's how I took some rock as well, so that's cool to hear that over the years because of these guys.
Uh-huh.
I might not always recognize the bands, but I do know the music.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And how about you guys? Who influenced you, Vince and Andreas?
For me, it started with obviously from my dad's video and disco and rock and pop, but then got into some more hard rock stuff. Great, and now I like new. Growing up, I was like a new wave guy. Didn't tell anybody I liked Duran Duran. And then obviously hip hop, R&B, all the great has influenced us. The pop music is different, and there's some of the great bands out there now. But things are so quick, it's hard to respond to something because they're gone. Sure. So I'm just we're looking, but influence anything that is a great song. The Beatles. I wasn't a huge Beatles fan, but now I like the Beatles more.
Yeah.
But like that has great songs. I tend to kind of and try to learn from. I'm still learning, and it's a new day from, like Alima says, from Alicia Keys to Prince was a big influence to me. But all bass lines. It was all those things all wrapped up in one. So we try to incorporate those ideas. That's me in a nutshell.
You see, that's great because like you, I always believe for any band to be successful, it's you got to have a little bit of everything. You got to have this, obviously you got to have the songs. You got to have songwriting is very important because if you don't have if you're a hot looking band and you look cool and everything, but you don't have the songs and you don't you can't play too good, you're not going to go too far. But like what I dig about what you guys do, like you said. It's very hard to pigeonhole your band. I mean, you guys have a little bit, all these different influences, and when anybody that goes on your website, they listen to any of your songs, you can hear that. And what's cool about, some of them might be into alternative rock. I could see them going to see a, Neverwonder concert, and by going to see you guys, they might get turned on to some R&B stuff or some soul type music, and I think that's, a great thing about what you're doing.
Well, that's really nice of you to say, and I'm glad you did. We are trying to incorporate, that soul rock fusion type of thing. I mean, it's there, and we all love each other's type of music, and we look to each other, and we look to their what we like, and we're not going to shut anything down. Like I said, there's the rule in Neverwonder is there's no rules. It's just, hey man, if you as a band.
Yeah, I got yeah, and I got to tell people. I got to tell people listening to this that initially, it was your publicist that, sent me a press release about you guys. I checked out your Facebook page and stuff. And then Vince got back to me and we set up the interview. And initially I thought I was just going to be talking to Vince, but he told me, he says, I want to bring some other band members into the interview. And typically you don't get that too much. You get like one or two guys in the band that does all the press. I got to tell people listening to this again that I think that's really cool. And you could hear in just doing this interview tonight what great friends you guys are. Obviously, Vince and Andreas, your brothers, and so you got the blood thing going. But you can hear how great you all get along. And I was kind of curious. You think that's what's making the band, so strong, because you guys do get along so well. It seems like.
Well, and never you can go around the horn on this one, but for me, in press, and talking about the band. Obviously, every interview is designed for the way I look at stuff, and primarily I hope the band looks at it, is that each fan has a favorite, something that they gravitate towards. It could be drums, obviously it could be the vocal or bass, and you want to share those ideas with people, and people want to hear the bass player, the drummer, the vocalist, and they hear different types of things. But I also believe in skin in the game, and I also believe that each band member should have vested time into the band and what they're doing every day and move it along collectively. And if a band does that, and that's something we strive for, we tell Doug, hey, the interview is for everybody. Or we've had radio people say we only want Vince to talk. And I'm like, well, that, Drea, because I'm not the band.
Yeah.
And, if MTV came and said, hey, Alima, we want to do a spot on you, well, we're not, we would prefer it to be the band, but if you're adamant, then of course we're not dumb about it, but it's always, the first thing is we're going to take a picture, we're going to do a phone interview together, we're going to do an in studio, whatever it is, as collective as a band, because I think that builds the camaraderie in the band moving forward as all bands does the cases. That's my 2 cents, though.
Oh yeah. I just want to point that out because I've seen and listened to interviews, like you said on TV, where typically one or two of the band members typically do interviews, and maybe they'll have other guys, doing an interview, and they'll be like, "Oh no, well he didn't mean to say that. What he meant to say, the other two kind of, dictate what everybody else says, and even doing this interview tonight, we can hear how everybody's, got the freedom to express what what they want to say. You say what you have to say, and the other two members say what they have to say. And I dig that because you can hear the love you all have for each other, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And kind of the last thing I want to talk a little bit about is we were talking earlier about the power of the internet. I mean, you guys must get people going on your Facebook page, and like you're saying, you must have people, like in countries that you haven't even played, writing you and telling you, hey man, I'm in Russia, I'm in Spain right now, or I'm in Japan. I'm listening to your music, and I dig what you guys are doing. I mean, how cool is that when you get people writing you stuff like that?
You want to get Alima?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it's cool. Sometimes Google Translate doesn't work. I don't know what they're saying, but it sounds good, I think.
Yeah.
But it's cool to be able to reach out further, like not just in the States, but be able to reach out to other countries all around the world. So that really is impressive because nowadays, like, you can get out there. Like before, it's just like being on stage, it might be local, regional, but not even, you don't really get the chance to with the internet.